I'm looking forward to everything inside another year, and we've wasted away to the people that we know and all the people we like. Television, make it all right.
Hello and welcome to the newest episode of On That Note with Parker Whirling. Today's guest is an indie rock band based in Minneapolis, Minnesota. They've got a new single called Forever coming out very soon, February 11th, and you need to make sure to check out the rest of their discography on all streaming platforms. Before we get the episode started, please make sure to like and subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And don't forget to follow me at Parker Whirling and at onthatnote_podcast on Instagram. And without further ado, please welcome Present Company. I'm sitting here with Present Company, an indie rock band based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. We got Christian Nelson, Eddie Chisholm, and Seth Lemon here joining me for another episode of On That Note with Parker Whirling. Thank you guys for joining me. I appreciate y'all coming on this show. I really want to kick this off asking some questions about your new single. It's about to be released called Forever. One thing I noticed that's kind of interesting, it's coming out February 11th, which is almost a year to the day of your last single, It's Not Looking Good. 364 days, actually, to be exact. So I thought that was kind of funny.
That.
You didn't know that? There you go. If you waited one day, it would have been a full calendar year. But there's something of a statement in just doing it one day.
Yeah, we really had to tuck it into that year mark. Hit
Yeah,
that goal.
That's 2 singles in a year, technically.
Yeah,
that's right. So with this new song, Forever, I'd love to know about the writing and recording process behind this new song, and if there were any new different techniques or approaches that you used with this song, Forever, compared to It's Not Looking Good, or even some of your previous album or other releases.
Yeah, so I wrote this song with Christian here, and for the most part, it was recorded in my basement. We just mic up our amps, and we, as far as like the drums go, we record them in like this nice kind of lofted room, but it all happens inside my house.
Yes.
Yeah, and just like the writing process was sort of this sort of how we've been doing this whole second album that we're working on. Very similar to It's Not Looking Good. It's one of the newest songs we've written, one of the last ones that we wrote for the album. But yeah, it just kind of stuck out to us, and I think the only difference is maybe a mic or two different, like a different mic that we used. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Was that like a pretty active choice? You wanted to use something different, or did you just happen to have this new microphone? You're like, let's fuck around.
Just bought a new mic. Yeah, pretty much. It's the same one we use for our drum overheads. So, but that's about it. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Okay, cool.
we do a lot of DIY recording and basically with whatever equipment we have. So a little less on like mics and a lot more on mixing variations now.
Yeah, I love that. I think one of my favorite kinds of artists to talk to are artists who really dig into that DIY aspect of just doing it themselves at their house or home studio or what have you, and making something great with not necessarily the best equipment, just doing what you got to do to make a great song. What have been some of the lessons or like some big advice you'd give to artists who don't really have the best equipment available to them? What would you say to them?
Well, you don't need a whole lot from what we found. I mean, a lot of bands have, they record in like a nice studio and they go through all the steps, and it doesn't necessarily lead to a great product. And you really just have to believe that you can do it yourself, and you have to just make what you have work. If you have an SM57, which is like a relatively cheap instrument mic, you can record pretty much any instrument that you have, and it's all about just kind of making sure that your space is relatively quiet and controlling that sound. And I don't know, I think you can make just about any situation work, but as long as you're really trying to make it sound the best that it can, and like
Yeah.
really paying attention as you go through it. We're certainly not just like a record like I don't know, throwing caution to the wind, like not really caring. No, we're like the whole time, like we're being very meticulous throughout the process, and as a result, I think some of our recordings sound, in my opinion, pretty good. But I don't know.
Yeah. You basically have to like take a little bit of technical advice, like the bare minimum of like the industry standard advice with EQing and compression, and then just follow your heart, follow exactly where you want it to sound, and like study what your favorite bands do and how they achieve whatever sound you can't describe, and then do that, and then make it your own.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like it is interesting to start. I mean, you have to start at zero. You have to start at a place where you have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you never know what good habits you'll start along the way that end up becoming something that's unique to you and personal and become part of your sound. And you also never know what bad habits you start that you have no idea you've started and have done for years and years. Have there been things that you guys, in terms of production, recording, or even writing, have there been things that you've picked up along the way that you've had to discard because you feel like they don't suit you anymore, or they're not working the way that you thought they were?
For sure.
Perfectionism.
Ooh,
Perfectionism. We got rid of that one real quick. Just
yeah.
like
That's huge.
keep asking. I used to keep asking people like, does this sound like, is this good now? Is this the studio sound now? Did I make it? You gotta like get rid of that head. You gotta get a new head.
Yeah, it's almost like you have to be like really adamant about like what it's actually supposed to sound like, and sometimes that means breaking a couple of rules. And I definitely agree that like thinking that something is, especially like when you're recording and you're trying to like write while you're recording, like if you get too bogged down by the details, like this synth doesn't sound quite right yet or something like that, then it really gets in the way of the product.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like you just said you don't throw caution to the wind. How do you know when something's ready to go? Like a certain sound is good, when the drums sound good, the bass sounds tight. Like, what's that feeling that you're looking for?
I would say like when you've been working on it for a while and you're not really adjusting anything anymore. Like you might be insecure about the product still, and then you can like do something after that. But as soon as you have something that you're not really moving the faders on, you should probably call it good and move on.
Yeah, it's easy to get hung up on one thing and like perfecting it, like turning the EQ thing down like 2 decibels
Right,
and then
yeah.
back up a decibel and then back down half a decibel. And it's just like banging your head against a wall.
Oh yeah.
I'd love to know from each of you guys what your favorite part of the creation process is.
Yes.
Can I just say like when it's done and I don't have to think about it? No, I think it's the
That's a great answer, honestly.
I think it's the writing. I think for me anyway, like I think my brain kind of shuts off when it's time to get into the nitty-gritty of the mix, which is why like Christian does a lot of that, and I'm kind of the uneducated editor who like says if anything sticks out is really wrong, but he does most of that. But yeah, the writing is my favorite part, I would say.
Yeah. I would say like 95% of the song making process is not good for me, but there's like 5% that is the best thing that I can think of like for me. So there's
that
like
5%?
there's like just this little bit of emotion that pops up and like really like makes me feel fulfilled. And then there's like 95% just like garbage maintenance, like terrible. But I enjoy it more than regular work, so
That's for sure. What is that 5%? Before we get to Seth, what is that 5%? When does it show up in the process? The beginning, middle, end?
Usually like right away. There's a feeling that encapsulates the song, and then it'll show up later. I guess like performing the songs, like I never get sick of that. Like that's
for
my
sure.
favorite.
Performing, yeah, if that is part of this, that's definitely the best.
Yeah,
Yeah, there you go. That could certainly be part of it.
that's all the feelings kept there.
So most of the emotion.
Yeah.
Nice. What about you, Seth?
Yeah, I think for me, it's usually the first time we're able to try someone's project out as a full band and immediately hear everyone's first thoughts and kind of reactions to it. Because I feel like so far, even for this next album, a lot of these songs will be in rough draft form, and then the second we all try to play it together, immediately there's like Baron will have a lot of thoughts on something, and he's very meticulous about his drumming too, so he's very immediately knows what he wants to do with it. And I think even for bass too, it's really fun and a lot different when you're playing with everybody to kind of see how it's all going to sound. So I mean, and again, that is closer to the end of the writing process, but that first time everyone playing it together is definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, there's something totally different about when the whole band gets together to play it, where if you've been playing it on guitar, and for my, my personal experience, when I just learn or write something on guitar, I recently just recorded an EP, and it was the first time I ever played with two other guys, like tracking three people at the same time. And the way I had it just with me was fine, but when we figured it out together as a band, it was crazy how different things changed and how much tighter things got. And there's something very special about having a room full of musicians that all respect each other and love each other and trust each other's input to allow for everybody's opinions to affect the song in a really good way. How do you guys deal with that communication? Did it come immediately, or was it something that you guys have learned over time?
I don't know. We're kind of like a family where everyone has like a role almost. I think I'm the dad. No, I don't know. I think that like what Seth is saying, because we usually will write a demo out in our DAW, and that's kind of how these songs start. But the songs really come alive when we all play them together. And Seth and Baron especially, they're truly like the heart and soul of the band when it comes to performing. They find the pocket in the rhythm, which always brings the songs to the next level, because before that it's like MIDI drums and either real bass that we tried to lay down ourselves foolishly, or like some MIDI bass, and the human aspect of that, and which is what we end up going with when we eventually record it. It brings everything to life. So I guess there's like Seth and Baron who are sort of just playing it, and that's kind of their way of communicating what they want to bring to it. And then and maybe one of us who like wrote the song will be like, I don't know, but they're always receptive to like trying new things and just jamming it out and figuring out like where the best spot for the song can land. And with a lot of songs, this album specifically, the songs just changed a lot just from us playing it together and realizing that certain things worked and certain things didn't.
Yeah. Pretty critical to bring it to the whole band, because me and Ed's main music influences are just like bands. So we love that band sound.
Right. That makes
Right.
sense. Have there been any times where it's been a struggle to get through that final part of the writing process? And if so, what did you guys do to get through it?
Just give it time. Just keep working. Sit back down. Where's the feeling? There it is.
Yeah. I usually tell myself when I am in a drought, which I'm in. I wish I actually knew the answer to the question you're asking, because I'm like totally at a
Yeah, me
point
too.
right now where like I'm hitting a wall with like some of the writing at the end here. But yeah, it usually just falls in your lap eventually. Like you do have to put in the time and like sit down at your computer and kind of force yourself to get stuff done. But eventually, yeah, I mean things just kind of come to you. But as a band, it's usually when we like are grinding it out and playing it live that we figure out those final touches of the stuff that works.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. That all makes sense to me, especially the thing with having the band together. I feel like is such a huge part of it, especially finding that feeling. Because when you're just by yourself or even with just one other person that specializes in one part of the aspect, it's hard to get a full idea of what the song is supposed to be. And it can just be very challenging. I would love to ask you guys about the fact that you're filmmakers as well, which I think is amazing. I watched the video for Please, It's Not Looking Good, and Living Room Parade. And Please is amazing. It had me emotionally invested, and I was also laughing the whole time.
Nice.
Yes.
Box News, that cracked me up. All of the box innuendos. Where did you guys come up with that idea?
We had just made a movie together,
Yeah.
which we will not speak of. No, it was just kind of bad, but we made it with our friends, and
It's called Embarrass.
And it was just like we set out to make like a feature length film with no experience, and
Quick sidetrack as a band.
Right.
We wanted to make movies.
but we acted in it and everything. It was pretty bad. But
Written,
we
produced.
wanted to make a short film to do as our next project, and we had kind of bought some film equipment and decided like, okay, we do have some good idea of like shots that work now. Like the best part about making that first movie and it failing and like was like the editing process and realizing all the stuff that you're not supposed to do. So we set out to make Please, and we wanted to make a short film called Cardboard, where
Yes.
it was essentially the same plot as Please, but basically like a sci-fi movie where some people were just made of cardboard, I guess, like had cardboard bodies.
Yeah.
And there's a whole plot. There's a bunch of lore behind it, but
Lots of lore.
essentially, yeah, we just kind of took that idea and we said, hey, let's make this a music video. And that's kind of where we've realized that we are way better at like visual storytelling than we are at like trying to make like a movie or something, and just having music behind it and kind of trying to match the emotion. And yeah, so I don't know, we just got together with the same guys that we made the movie with, and we made this, and yeah, it was a great experience. We have more music videos down the pipeline, so
They're coming.
That's awesome. It's cool that you guys do both of those things. I feel like they can really help each other out in terms of the lessons you learn in one thing can really affect the other. My favorite part of the Please music video has to be when Seth comes in and saves the day.
absolutely.
I loved
Best
that.
part.
Just came in, snapped some necks, get out of there, getaway car.
Yeah, the first time we did that take, the guy's neck I snapped is actually my brother-in-law's, and I accidentally actually grabbed his neck and cracked it
Oh no.
because I wasn't thinking. I don't know why. It
You were
wasn't.
just really like
I was really
in
into
it.
the
You were
role.
feeling it.
Yeah, I was the savior. I was here to save Stin, and
He
Yeah.
was also the stunt driver in that final shot in the
Yeah.
tunnel, you know. which was very
Yeah.
dangerous. But
Played a lot of
yeah.
roles.
I know. I was watching that. Like, this is some real practical effects here. Like, I'm a little worried for this guy right now.
I was
yeah.
frightened driving. I thought he was gonna fall out the back for sure.
Hey, sometimes you got to take risks, you know, to get that shot. You got to get the
Absolutely.
shot.
It's true.
What were some of the challenges and rewards of creating your own music videos? I know there's a lot of challenges that go into filmmaking.
Yeah, I mean the planning is always like way less than what we should do. So
Yeah.
we kind of wing it, and
General outlines.
we show up at locations that we're not supposed to be at, and we film for as long as we can, and then people get kind of weird, and then we have to leave. And
They don't like
it's
you in
spe-
boxes.
It's
in
especially
places.
weird if you're wearing a box, which I guess
Not exactly undercover.
right.
Yes.
Yeah, so just kind of, I guess like the biggest challenges are just winging it and then trying to make something cohesive out of it. I mean, we did have a story and an outline that we want to follow, but you quickly realize that a lot of your ideas aren't going to work, and you have to, change it to something else and still try to make every shot look good. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Do you guys have any advice for artists who want to create their own music videos?
Start. Just like go do it, and like we have run into problems where we're like, how are we gonna make a guy fall out of the sky? We drew it up, and now we don't know how to execute. But like, if you can find a way, you can find a way for anything. Just do it.
Absolutely.
Just write it. No matter how crazy, just go do it.
Write it and do it, and you don't need to spend a bunch of money on a
Yeah.
company or a studio. You can do it. You can figure it out. Like we've done most of our music videos for like absolutely free. The only thing that we really have paid for is that
Cardboard.
studio space inside of for the It's Not Looking Good video. Like we rented that for like a couple hours. But for the most part, you can just find places around town that look cool, or even in your own house. That's what we did for Living Room Parade, and just make it work.
Yeah, that kind of goes back to what you guys were talking about earlier about throwing perfectionism out the window.
Yeah.
Because if you held on to that, it'd be so easy to, during the writing process, be like, how are we going to make somebody fall out of the sky? Let's not do that, But maybe you should be like, hold on a second. Let's figure out a way that we can do this. Maybe we don't have to spend a shit ton of money on effects or anything like that. And sometimes, it does make sense to spend a little money on something that feels like it's a priority.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's not, don't sweat it. Try to figure out a way around it. And there's something about that DIY aspect that I think a lot of people really vibe with.
Yeah.
Yeah, watch our Please music video, please, people. 'cause
Yeah, please, everybody go watch, please. Yes. Cool, guys. Well, that's going to take us over to the last 5, where I'm just going to ask you guys 5 quick questions, and we'll be done.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right, number 1 is in the studio or playing live?
Studio.
What about you, Eddie?
What was the question?
Would you rather play in the studio or would you rather play live?
Oh, live.
Yeah? Seth?
Yeah, definitely live.
So, explain. You guys are not quite on the same page here.
I guess we're the majority over Christian. Yeah, I don't know. Live is the best. It's like why. Originally the most gratifying part was like finishing the album and listening to it and like having music that we made that we actually liked. That was kind of what we set out to do. But then playing live, getting in the van with these guys, driving to the venue, all the anxiety of like the sound check and making sure that everything is going to sound good. And then like there's all these people, which there aren't, a lot of times there aren't, but sometimes there are. And just having that feeling of like, because we go crazy too. Like I hope you can make it out to a show sometime, but like just laying it all out there, like it's just the most emotional, cathartic experience that I ever have. I don't know, Seth.
Yeah, it's the same thing. The whole experience. I mean, like again, meeting at Ed's, packing up, getting in the van, going over there. It's like, I mean, it's a full day's work, and then it feels like after all the practices we have, like now we get to pay it off. Like this is what we've been working towards, and finally getting that kind of reward is always a really great feeling. And also it's just fun. It's like really fun. You get to talk to people. Everyone's kind of there to see you, hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you guys, but if you're in the studio, then that means like it's go time.
It's go
That
time,
means you made it to the studio. I mean, if it's a house studio, then yeah, I'd probably go with live. But if we're in like a real studio, then that means like we have enough money to be in a studio. So that.
Yeah, I gotta say, being in the studio is my answer, but also I haven't played live as much as I used to, so it might be skewed. But to me, being in the studio means you can create something completely new today. You could take a song that you've had written forever, and when you're in the studio, it can go a whole different direction that you never expected, and suddenly you like have found this new spark in something that you've known for so long.
Yeah, absolutely. That is totally true.
But there's no wrong answer for sure. Question number 2. What's a perfect album front to back?
Like one that exists?
Yes.
Okay.
Were you going to say the new present company album?
No. We don't even know what that sounds like.
I would say yes.
Perfect album. There's not many of them. I would say In Rainbows. Radiohead is a perfect album.
Yep, I have to agree. That's my favorite album ever.
Oh, hell yeah. Sweet.
Yeah, that one's pretty good. I like High Violet by The National.
Yeah,
That one really vibes with me.
that one I've never listened to all the way through. I know a few songs, but I haven't listened to it all the way through.
Yeah, I think I would agree with Shin too. I was gonna say High Violet because I also love The National. Not that I don't
Nice.
love Radiohead, but there's also
I love The National.
I feel like I'm a weird music person where there's not a lot of albums I do listen to all the way. I'm a very picky, choosy, like 2-3 songs, and that's
Yeah.
kind of it. So there's very few that I feel like I can play for myself, start to finish, and not skip a song.
Mm-hmm. That's a hard thing to accomplish.
Yeah, especially.
Do you have any other than High Violet that you would say, Seth?
I guess for me personally, there's like a lot of bands that I have found that I think have albums that I listen to all the way through. Like the Boxer Rebellion is a band out of England, and they
The
have
Boxer Rebellion.
yes, and
That's a cool name. I've never heard of them.
yeah, I mean they're not huge, but they have 3 or 4 albums, and they're one of the only bands I think that I really can listen. Like I could listen to all their discography and like not skip
Okay.
a song.
Oh, nice.
It's like they wrote it
What's-
for me.
I love when bands feel like that. Is there an album I should check out? Like, what would be the first one I should check out?
I think it's Big Ideas or Dreams is 2 of
Okay.
them. I mean, they don't have that. They haven't made an album in a few years, and their most recent album was like super sad, acoustic, melancholy stuff. So maybe don't listen
Nice.
to that unless you're prepared to be sad.
Sometimes, you never know. But yeah, I'll give
Ooh,
that.
wait.
Give that.
I love This Is Happening by LCD Sound System.
He's
That was
coming in
pretty
hot.
good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
LCD Sound System. That's a great one.
Yeah.
That's the one. What's the cover of that one?
It's like him standing with like a suit on.
He's like a suit.
Yeah. Okay. I forget which one's which, but that one is good. What are the hits on that one?
Dance Yourself.
Dance Yourself Clean.
Okay. Yeah.
You Wanted a Hit. No, that's on the next one. Home. That's a banger. There's a lot of bangers.
I feel like that one has.
Have you
like
guys
all the
ever
hits.
gotten to see LCD Sound System live?
I did.
How was it?
I was in the balcony, so I could have been having a lot better of a time. I wish I was in GA. I would have been going nuts.
Yeah, they're a crazy band to watch live. I saw them at a music festival
Yeah.
in LA like 5-6 years ago.
Like
and
20 people.
Yeah, I was a little bit farther in the back, but it was a fun time. They put on a show.
Sweet. That's awesome.
Question number 3 is, who is your dream artist or producer to work with?
The Dresners from the National.
That's what I said. That's what I put on here. I try to think of artists and producers that I would recommend and that, or I would think would work well, and I wrote Aaron Dresner.
You wrote that for us?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's definitely the dream. I like if we could be, you know, part of that like 4AD family and
If you're watching this 4AD, please sign us.
no, but have those twins work on our songs. I think that they would really understand what we're going for, and yeah, definitely.
We obsessed for many years over the Dresners and their mixing abilities.
Are they twins?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Aaron and Bryce.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I know they look identical, but I thought one was like a year or two older than the other.
Huh.
No, aren't the drummer and the bass player are twins too, right? Or are they
No,
just
they're
brothers?
just brothers.
Oh, okay.
So
One
is
set.
Matt Berenger the only one that's not a brother?
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought he was a brother as well, because I know there's 2 brothers in the band, or 2 pairs.
His brother made a documentary for the National.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
So in a way, I guess.
They have. I think that he was like childhood friends with those guys. Anyway.
Mhm.
Is it good? Have you seen it?
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, it's a good one. Mistaken for Strangers. It's worth watching. It's kind of like half like real and half like them putting on like a little bit of a show, and you'll understand, I guess, when you watch it. Yeah, it's
Like
really
a
sick.
mockumentary, documentary.
Is this the one where they're like being interviewed by some random guy in Europe, and they're acting super weird and like annoyed?
Possibly.
Possibly.
Because
It's
my
been a
friend
few
sent me
years.
it, and I couldn't tell if it was real or not. Like, they seemed like they were being really, really great actors, or like they were being total assholes. I couldn't tell.
Yes.
How would
I
you,
don't remember
how would
the
you watch that movie?
entirely.
Like, where would you where do you watch it? Because I'm always down
I
for
think
a
it's
nice
on Amazon.
documentary.
Maybe Hulu.
Online or something.
Amazon or Hulu.
Yeah, it's been
That's
a
where I
while.
saw
think
it.
it came out in like 2007 or something, or 2009 or something.
Yeah,
so
right when
it's
High
been a
Violet was
while.
popping off.
Okay.
Oh wait, it came out in 2013. I'm dumb.
Yeah, right when High Violet was popping off.
Yeah, it looks like you have to rent it.
Looks like
that's
you're
the
gonna
way.
have to rent
That's
it.
fine. I'll shell a couple bucks for that.
Yeah.
I love the Wilco documentary. Have you guys ever seen that?
Yeah, that's like one of the best like all time
Absolutely.
rock docs, I would
Oh,
say.
It's insane.
I want to watch it.
Yeah, you haven't seen it, Christian?
No.
I gotta recommend it. I mean, when I watched it, I didn't know it was supposed to be one of the best, but I can see why. I just watched it because I love Wilco, but it is.
Yeah.
It's a crazy story, like just
Mhm.
insane what went down.
Hmm.
No spoilers though.
Yeah, no spoilers.
I need to know now.
You'll just have to rent it. It's on Vimeo, which is kind of weird of all places. That's the only place
Didn't
you
even
can
know that.
rent
Didn't
it.
know that was a thing anymore.
I know. It's the only place you can rent it, and I just bought it because I like watching it so much. But yeah,
Ooh.
any other artists or producers you'd want to work with besides the Dresners?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I would love to work with I would like to pick Peter Hook's mind a little bit from Joy Division / New Order.
Oh, okay.
Craig Elo, I feel like he could figure us out big time. Sometimes I wonder what it would be like to work with like a pop producer like Max Martin
Mm-hmm.
or something.
I could see like
what would
Mark
what
Ronson.
would they bring? Right, like what would they bring out of us? You know, I don't know. It might be kind of fun, something like that. What about you, Seth?
I'm trying to think of. I don't feel like I know that many producers now that I'm thinking about it.
Did you have anyone else written for us?
Well, now I actually did not. Although I was thinking James Murphy, but that's a little on the nose.
Of course, yeah, that would be awesome.
But when you said pop producer, I did just think of Mark Ronson, and I'm like, that would be cool because he's so good with rhythm and beats, and you guys have such a like all of your songs are such a like they remind me of LCD Sound System where there's like just a nice groove going the whole time.
Thank you. That's what we go for.
The dream compliment.
Yeah. Question number 4 is what's on y'all's musical rotation right now?
God. Good question. I have to pull out my Spotify.
Yeah.
It's the
If
only
you don't
way
mind, I will be pulling up my Spotify.
I don't mind at all. Do you know how many
I've said
people,
this
when I ask
before.
that, the first thing they say is, I have to pull up my Spotify? Because that's such an
Immediately
on-the-spot
forget.
question. Nobody knows what they're listening to until they have it right in front of them.
It's true.
An album that came out last year that I really like, this relatively new band, but they're called Drugstore Romeos, and that album is really awesome. Another album that came out last year that I love is Dry Cleaning's New Long Leg, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa, that's a weird name.
Yeah.
Well, Dry Cleaning is the band, New Long Leg, I think, is the album.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool, like post-punk, like talkie type music. I've been listening to Mia Joy, Chromatics, a lot of David Bowie. Seth turned me on to the Sundays.
Yeah,
and
the
I've
Sundays.
listened to them.
Never listened to them. Are they, what era? Are they new?
90s?
90s.
Oh, wait.
Like 90s.
That does sound familiar. Do they have one big hit?
They have a
Yeah.
song called Here's Where the Story Ends. I think that might be the hit.
They're British. They have like this girl singer and like
It kind of reminds me
acoustic
of like
driven.
the Smiths.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll check them out. That sounds really familiar. I feel like somebody recommended them to me once.
Yeah. Oh, and the new Snail Mail album that came out.
Yeah, new
recently.
Snail Mail.
So
Valentine?
good. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
That one-
Yeah, I've
that
been
one
sleeping on
absolutely
Snail
rips.
Mail. Maybe I should give that a go.
That one is definitely worth a go, I would say.
Big cries.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you guys like Lucy Dacus?
Love.
Yeah.
Love.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like the home video album? That was so good.
Really good. Yeah, definitely her best album, I would say. Like Night Shift is my song, of course. You
Mhm.
know, I'm kind of basic in that way, but I would say that was like her most complete work. I really liked it.
Yeah.
I like all the Boy Genius people. They're great.
Yeah, I've never really gotten into Julian Baker, but I haven't tried that hard, so maybe I need just to give it another go. But I
We're
obviously
feeling some folk.
yeah.
I love-
I mean, who doesn't love Phoebe Bridgers and
Mhm.
Lucy Dacus is great, but I will have to try it a little bit harder to get into Julian Baker.
Yeah.
I've been going crazy on Susie and the Banshees.
Oh, I've heard of him.
I'm a sucker for 80s music. Susie and the Banshees. I've been listening to The Magnetic Fields. Love me some Magnetic Fields. A lot of Beach House. I want to go see them when they're
Nice.
here.
Oh man,
What are you
same.
thinking about the new rollout?
It's my favorite Beach House.
Really? Well,
I was never like super into Beach House until this album.
He's not a real fan.
I'm not a real fan.
Damn.
This new album's really good though.
call him out.
They are. I love Beach House. I feel like they, as far as like the synth vibe goes, that's and like the shoegaze sound like that. If I'm ever chasing that on a song, they're kind of my inspiration. I mean, I do like the new stuff, but
Yeah.
I like a lot of the old stuff too.
And the new Mitski.
The new Mitski.
Oh, yeah.
I want. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that's good.
Woo.
That's was it Working for the Knife? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, and they have like she has a few more after that too.
Yeah, I'm stoked for the new album. She's great, iconic. Beach House is great and iconic. What about you, Seth? What are you listening to?
I have a problem where I'd find one band and then that's all I listen to for like a
Yeah.
year. But I think really consistently this band or this guy out in Oakland called Daywave. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
Sounds
It's just a
familiar.
guy. He's a producer too, so he produces a lot of other similar artists out there. But he released a few singles, and then he's releasing his second full album for the first time in like 5 years. It's been a while since he released an album. So he's been releasing some singles, and I've been eating those up hard.
Gotcha.
It's been really nice.
Daywave.
Kind of beachy vibes.
Seth also loves Tennis System.
Yeah, that is my favorite all-time band. They're out of California as well.
Tennis
really
System?
shoegazy. Yep.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting. I got excited because you said tennis. I was thinking of the band Tennis, and then you added System in there. I've never heard of Tennis System.
No, they're not that big, and they just keep re-releasing different versions of a lot of their songs. They have like punk versions, then like album versions, and then alternatives. Which again, I love all of them, so I've just been listening to those on repeat. But I would love to write kind of that kind of music. That's kind of my goal for myself.
Mhm.
Real shoegazy, little punk, kind of heavy.
Hell yeah.
That's good stuff.
You guys have given me like 12 different artists to listen to. I love that. I'm always on the lookout
yeah.
for new stuff. All right. So I have a last question, and sometimes I think of a second to last question that I want to ask. So the first last question that I usually ask is, what's your favorite decade of music?
I think 70s.
70s?
Is mine. Yeah, because that's kind of where you find the birth of post-punk. You get a lot of, maybe. I do like modern music a lot. Like, I think that
Yep.
nowadays we've made a lot of good out of what they started then. But maybe I'll stick with 70s for now.
It's got to be the 80s.
Really?
It's got to be the 80s. Oh, yeah. Early 80s stuff. I got the Joy Division. I got the Smiths. I got all the good bands. The Cure. All that good stuff. Yeah, it started in the late 70s, but give me the synths.
Yeah. You're a synth man.
Yeah. Give me those drum machines. I love that stuff.
Absolutely. Seth?
Man, I don't know if I've ever thought about this. Because I would say like late 70s into the early 80s with like Joy Division and then New Order are my like go-to for 80s music. And then I'm also kind of realizing a lot of the kind of punk, shoegazy stuff that I listen to is very heavy 90s.
Mm.
And so,
Cactus.
yeah, so I've been listening to a lot more 90s bands recently. And
Me
I think
too.
as a whole, the 90s might closer encapsulate my music genre. So probably 90s.
Interesting. I love asking that question because it's really hard to like nail them down. Like, I think we all pretty much pull from every decade, consciously or subconsciously.
For sure.
And my answer usually is the 2010s, just because it feels so fresh to me, and kind of like what you were saying, Eddie. I feel like, it's easy to have that perspective, like the old man, like yelling out of his porch, like, music back in the day, like that was real music, and now they're just making, a bunch of garbage. But I feel like in reality, it's so much more accessible to look for the music that you want to hear, and it's so easy to like find crazy unique bands all over the world. With the internet, you can find bands from Nigeria, you can find bands from like Tibet. It's crazy. And you might be able to take influence from all these different bands and all these different places and make something completely unique because of it. Whereas 15, 20, 30 or more years ago, you were kind of limited to the radio and your local scene.
Mm-hmm. More competition now, better music.
That's true. My last question that I thought about as we were talking is more personal for me, because I like the National. I do, but I want to get a little bit more into them, and you guys seem to be really into them. What would be your favorite National album and why?
I'll do you one better. I'll give you my order.
Ooh, that's
No,
what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
I think I'm a little bit of an outlier, which is, of course, what a national fan would say about themselves. But I would say my favorite is Trouble Will Find Me.
Yeah. That's the one I know the most.
Okay, sweet. Second would be Alligator.
Okay.
Third would be High Violet. Then fourth, Boxer. And fifth, Sleep Well Beast. And you can't go wrong. Like, they passed the 5 album test. You can't go wrong with any of those 5. And then they have some great stuff besides that. But yeah, I would say that 05 to 07 area where it's Alligator and Boxer is really when they found who they were. And so that's like the best era to listen to if you're like getting into them, because then all the new stuff you like really have a better appreciation of it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I like High Violet the most. And then probably Trouble Will Find Me. And then Alligator and Sleep Well Beast they're both really good, but maybe Boxer beats those. I don't know. I love them so much. I love that band so much. Like, we bonded over them and how dreary the lyrics were, and how much more interesting like a long-term relationship can be in a song than like a pop song with like a quick hot puppy love romance type of, or a quick breakup, a teen breakup. Like, there's a little more sustenance when there's like some older person being like, I don't know if I don't know
I guess
about life.
I don't want to say one's better than the other, but I do like that we get that perspective. I don't know if we get it enough, and it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out.
Like really brewed out feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Seth, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I do think Trouble Will Find Me is my favorite, and besides High Violet, because I think the songs I like most from High Violet is, for me, kind of what most of Trouble Will Find Me sounds like.
Okay.
Like, they kind of transfer over. So yeah, and again, I'm not as big of a national fan as these guys.
It's a good
I do
thing
like
you didn't
them.
ask this question to Baron.
Yeah, Baron, I don't know.
Is he not a
if he's ever
fan?
listened to the national.
I don't think so. I think he can appreciate the drumming, which is like the best indie drumming that there is, in my opinion. But
Yeah, I think that's why I like Trouble Will Find Me so much, because I love the drums in England and what's the other one from High Violet? Is Buzzblood Ohio?
Blood Buzz.
Yeah, both of those drums for me are like my favorite part of those songs, and they kind of transfer over, I think, a lot into Trouble Will Find Me. Has a lot of those really heavy toms.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's very mesmerizing rhythmically on Trouble Will Find Me.
Yeah.
I remember feeling like it's been so long since I've listened to it, but the one where it's like, hey Joe, da, 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 that one, that's such a weird like climax for a song, and it feels so good.
Sea of Love.
Sea of Love, that's
Sea of
right.
Love,
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Baron would tell you to listen to Boy Pablo
Love Boy Pablo.
Jeff
and
Buckley.
Sunset Roller Coaster.
Oh
which is like
yeah.
a
My Genji by
Taiwanese
Sunset
band.
Roller
yes,
Coaster.
Yes.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know.
I know, man. That was a big one for me a year or so ago. I love that song. I listen to it like every day.
Great outro.
One of the best outros in the last decade, I would say.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we could bond over Sunset Roller Coaster. That's amazing.
Yes.
Baron's he's gonna lose his mind.
I love that. Well, I wish he could join us, but Christian, Eddie, and Seth, thank you for joining me for an episode of On That Note. Everybody needs to go check out the new single Forever by Present Company, which I think when this episode comes out, it won't be out yet, but it will be coming out very soon. So get ready for that. Make sure to go listen to the previous single, It's Not Looking Good, and the rest of your discography. And once again, thank you guys, Present Company, for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. I'll talk to you guys later. See ya. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you again for joining me for another episode of On That Note with Parker Whirling. If you haven't yet, please make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts, and you can even leave a comment down below to let me know who you're listening to. On that note, I'll see you guys next time.